Where's Lance? There we are. We got some spoken word poetry for you. Lance, everybody.
Thank you. So what an afternoon. I've been waiting for this afternoon for about 15 years. It's good to see you all here. So, how many people know what slam poetry is? Anybody? Hey, yeah. So if you know about slam poetry, you know slam poets have been supporting this cause since the mid-'80s when it started in Chicago. And it was short notice. I just found out a couple days ago we couldn't get a whole lot of slam poets here, but I'm sure they'll be here in future gatherings. You know, there's a history in Richmond of rebellion. Bacon's Quarter, Bacon's Rebellion. When you go on Chamberlain Avenue, you pass Broad Street, and then you pass over 95, and then you pass over some railroad tracks in a gully there. Somewhere around there was Bacon's Quarter Branch, where Bacon lived. And he had the first rebellion among the Europeans against the crown in the 1600s. But the first rebellion actually was the Indians. And we could tell some stories there, but I want to tell a story that's true about Gabriel. Now, if you go on Broad Street, right below MCV, it says Gabriels Rebellion. But one of the reasons I do this poem is I want that to be changed to Gabriel's freedom fight. August 30, 1800, Richmond, Virginia. Gabriel. Angel of freedom, angel of sufferance, angel of truth. The cosmos will not be forever held in abeyance. Son of the captured king of the Zulu nations brought to American chains, his son, blacksmith muscles ripple, flame the iron chains that will hold and mold and enfold a brother. He cringes and singes his thoughts of ascendance. General Gabriel forms his plans carefully. 9 years ago, the seed planted and watered when the Haitian slaves threw off their masters. Although round here, the slave owners became more leery with darting eyes, the night patrols more frequent, fearsome, the little privileges suspended. Still, the word of the colonials rings in his ear, liberty or death. He silently screams, die or liberty. We won't harm the Quakers, the Methodists, the poor, or the French. Sunday after Sunday, day of Christian rest, Gabriel works. The slave owners dare not disturb this day. Some slave owners even think themselves models of Christian charity for this. Through the lazy, hot, hazy southern Virginia summer, Gabriel works. Through the glorious rainbow-colored fall, Gabriel works. Through the ghost breath, frigid, bitter winter, hauling his blacksmith tools, earning the master wages, organizing, sermonizing the rightness of freedom across the heart of groaning Virginia until all that can be done to be ready is done. By the Brook Bridge, near 1,000 strong, gathering with weapons as storm clouds gather in the west, almost unnoticed. Gabriel reviews his plans, the first column east to the docks at Rockets, to the torch. After the town rushes to water the flames, the second column takes the arms at the Capitol and Governor Monroe hostage. The third takes the arms at the penitentiary. Imagine, Governor Monroe hostage, tables turned, Africans in charge at last of their lives, on freedom's sails soaring, billowing in the breeze. But back at the Brook Bridge, the clouds open up in a biblical deluge, washing out the Brook Bridge, stranding the gathering plot on the north bank away from Richmond. We'll gather tomorrow, word spreads in waves. That night, near Brookfield Plantation, two slaves panic, reveal the plot. Alarm bells ring, clang, rising tremor. Governor Monroe orders out the militia. Gabriel stealthily flees down the Chickahominy to be captured, hiding in a ship hold in Norfolk, and returned in chains he might have forged to an ever more schizophrenic Richmond. 60 are tried in solemn show trials, black robes and high benches, to the gallows and shackle bottom. 24 in ones and twos and threes swing, sway, and turn in the October breeze on a fall morning. Gabriel's rope creaks and moans on a fall morning, October 10. Defying the slave owners with his now shattered life, his unyielding death. It's not right! It's not right! The archangel ghost voice of Shackle Bottom in the dark night. It's not right! It's still not right! Gabriel works no more. His body rests in an unmarked grave along with the others below MCV north of Broad Street. And back then in the dark night, the cosmos lay ever more tightly coiled, waiting. In that very same year, what was his name? It was the guy that started the rebellion that was 20 years later. He was born.
Born that night?
He was born that same year, and it came back. And the postscript is 104 years to the day. The same day that a plaque was finally put up saying Gabriels Rebellion and Gabriel's buried here. And that plaque was put up. There was a repeat of the flood that washed out the Brook Bridge. It was called Gaston if you were here in 2004. 104 years to the day. So this poem is for, it's Gabriel's freedom fight.
Woo! Woo! Occupy Gabriel!
Actually, there's a group that's been doing that, occupying, and they did get the cemetery put back in city hands. And they took the pavement off. And there's a desire to excavate it because up in New York they found an African burial ground, and they excavated and they found all these things in the burials that showed the connection of the Africans in America with the Africans in Africa. The parallels in the burials, there was so much like the African burials. It proves something that many people already knew, particularly in the African community, about how there was a huge connection that was not lost among the Africans in America with the African culture. So, I want to do another poem. Actually, I wanted to mention, anybody ever hear of the bread riots in Richmond? The bread riots during the Civil War. The Confederate President and Congress were hoarding food in the warehouses against the siege against Richmond, while the everyday people were starving. And starting in Oregon Hill, which is not usually thought of, or at least for many years in this city, was not thought of as a progressive place, though that's changed. There was in double-digit vote for Nader when he ran for president, to give you an idea. But during the Civil War, Oregon Hill led the bread riots and broke open the warehouses. So I'm just saying there's a history of revolution. There's a history of opposing things. And also in Oregon Hill, I was part of finding there was an underground railroad station there. And that last poem I did is like part of that play that I'm writing about the Jacob House Underground Railroad Station. But coming forward, you know, we marched here from Monroe Park. And somehow that's fitting, because Monroe Park has been a center of marches and protests in the 20s. The beginnings of the suffragette movement were 1 block away on Franklin Street, which came to fruition. I remember during the Vietnam War protest, Jeff Kelso, one of the leaders at the time, put out the word for a protest. He said, we're going to have a puppy burn. We're going to burn a puppy. And all these people came, you're going to burn a puppy? What's going on? And he got up and he said, I'm not going to burn any puppy, but with all these people dying in Vietnam. He had him. He had him. So there's a history, okay? And this country has a history. USA, Uncle Sam, we have a history, a reputation. We love to chill, lay back, watch bone-crunching football. We have a history, a reputation. In the 1930s, Japan was an empire, boot-crunching the remains of the Chinese Empire. We, a sleeping giant, just like now, then, we were groggy, asleep from robber baron, created depression. Then Japan picked a fight with us, and when we finished, not only was their ass kicked, but the German Empire, ashes and dust. And we forgave and forgot and gave them democracy. Hey, we have a history, a reputation. The Russians fancied empire behind Berlin walls. They took us on, they took a big fall. And we went back to sleep while our elite did things in our name out of what CEOs claim is corporate necessity. Hey, rest of the world, how did this come to be? Did you know, after the American Civil War, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution was passed to give Africans well-earned citizenship? But by the 1890s, the Africans still didn't have their citizenship, but the lawyers had used it to make corporations persons. Persons who can commit crimes for which real people like you and me would be executed. But these multinational persons at the most may be a useless fine. So they tromp across the planet with the American name, claiming theirs is an American game, not to mention backed by the American army. It's alarming. Destroying lives, livelihoods, dreams, environments, all across the planet like vultures they jet. And we Americans wonder how we came to be so hated. But we were a sleeping giant, groggy. Suddenly it's a new millennium party, and this voice in the urban wilderness cries, call 9/11. At first, it's a bin Laden, Taliban, Afghanistan with precision bombing victory. Then it's a nightmare Uncle Sam gone mad with shock and awe and Constitution ripping. Hey, rest of the world, we're freaking crazy. You woke us and we let Alfred E. Newman steal the presidency twice so he could say, bring it on. And when the world did bring it on, half of us said, we are crazy. And the other half said, maybe it's time to listen more, yell less, make a friend out of an enemy, hug someone. Instead of making war, have safe sex. Then Bush let the banksters and robber barons loose on Wall Street, and after their speculations and machinations made them billions, it all comes tumbling down around us. They were bailed out with government trillions for being too big to fail. And the rest of us, stunned, maybe got unemployment checks, if we were lucky. Somebody yelled, make jobs, not war. Somebody yelled, we've got the best Congress money can buy. Somebody yelled, Occupy Wall Street. To be continued. Yeah. Sometimes I think about where things took a wrong turn. I don't know, for me a lot of it seemed to have been at 9/11. Anybody else notice? So,
Reagan.
Pardon?
Reagan.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It started there. But I mean, it really did. So I've got a new ending for, that was a new ending for that. And it is to be continued. I've got a new ending for this next poem. Hints within hints. Moments within moments. A crystalline clear depth clarity, a rarity of within an inch of scent. Hearts bent. Within the concrete turned to dust, the dusty early morning warning shroud. Say it loud, we were too proud. Anger round, spotlight off the silly superficial stuff. Heads filled for a change with hearts as tears rain down through the losses sharp, as tears rain down through the wounded and maimed. Where is relief from the raw pain of regrettable, indigestible, incontestable, deep cost, but like matchsticks tossed, lost, hordes of firemen running up these towers to save these others, not knowing when it all comes down, peeling open like flowers. And who will put out the moaning, the groaning, and who will put out these angry fires? The madness looms near, it gleams their ears, a split-second moment now, a searing scar here comes again when we stop the rush in the silence lush. Fingers tender, tentatively, quietly reach. I never heard the night sky so empty of planes and quiet. And there was a black hole from deep in the earth, the gaping, angry, hungry jaws of hell, loom of doom, roar and pour forth, an opening wide with thunder. Let us swear we will not let that prevail. Let us throw the moment's million tiny acts, reaching out to risk, protect, for the unknown stranger brings the moment of clarity, the cloud of unknowing. Deep within the orgasmic primordial grunts, deeper within the flood-driven wiggling sperm at hunt, deeper within the calling, waiting egg, the agony and ecstatic moans of birth, the piercing cries of newborn mirth. Within each one of us right now is all of this, a dance of renaissance and rebirth. Let us reach out and claim, lay hold and swear. We will get our lonely, disconnected selves dissolved by gently reconnecting them to the vast, compassionate cosmos. Thus, by dissolving with the mercy of forgiveness our hurt, our pain, our anger, our rage, and our frustration, we will be able to join anew the loving interconnectedness of all living kind. Let it heal and restore us to Eden by doing its fragile, impossible, all-powerful, and miraculous work.